The drill. No one survives. No one moved. In the vast chamber of the Coalition training nexus, hundreds of soldiers, scaled, furred, plated, feathered, stood at rigid attention. The air thrummed with tension. A hologram of the death moon, Varg 9, spun slowly above them, casting flickering shadows over the assembled elite. The voice of the drill master echoed through the silence, deep and metallic. 72 hours. No rest. No food. No relief. Combat conditions under shifting gravitational zones, psychological trauma simulators, and autonomous hostiles. Success rate, 0%. This is not a test of strength. It is a crucible, the 72-hour death drill. He let the words linger like a challenge. Volunteers. No one stepped forward. The Braktar battlekin remained statuesque, their forearms crossed over armored chests. The feathered Veari clutched their spears tighter, eyes darting toward the exits. Even the Scarrick, bred for pain, raised in war, glanced at each other and looked away. And then, quietly, a human stepped out of formation. Sergeant Kara Voss, Earth Special Recon, walked forward and stopped at the center of the hall. She didn't salute. She just looked up at the drill master with the kind of calm that made the nearby soldiers uneasy. Human, the drill master's voice growled. Do you understand the nature of this trial? Kara nodded once. Yes, sir. Your kind has never attempted it. Others stronger, faster, have failed, collapsed in madness or death. You will not be extracted. You will not be assisted. If you fall, you fall alone. I know, she said. A ripple of murmurs swept through the alien ranks. One of the Braktar muttered to his kin, this species. Their minds are defective. She does not comprehend death, hissed a Veari commander. Kara turned her head slowly and smiled. I've met death. He's just another drill instructor with a bad attitude. The drill master's glowing eyes narrowed. Very well. Your name will be logged. You begin at dawn cycle. Dismissed. Kara turned and walked back to her place. No swagger. No fear. Just a steady stride that said she knew exactly what she'd signed up for, and didn't care who thought she was insane. As the chamber emptied, alien officers gathered in a hushed knot. Why would she volunteer? One asked. She's human, another replied. They break differently. Or sometimes they don't break at all. High above, in a control room overlooking the Nexus, Admiral Korvac of the Coalition forces stared at Kara's file projected on the screen. Earth's file was thin. Too thin. The humans were newcomers to the galactic scene, but their combat reports from the Fringe Wars were troubling. Send a drone team to monitor her live, Korvac said. I want every heartbeat recorded. Let's see what makes a human think they can survive hell. Because the truth no one said aloud was this. No one had ever survived the 72-hour death drill. But the human just volunteered. And for reasons none of them could fathom. She looked like she planned to win. The first 24 hours, fire, blood, and silence. Varg 9 didn't wait. The moment Kara's boots hit the ground, the simulation began, if simulation was the right word. The death drill wasn't a holographic game. It was engineered reality, terrain tailored to torment, weather programmed to punish, and threats designed to kill. The sky above her churned in unnatural shades of orange and green, with lightning arcs splitting the horizon like cracking bone. Rain hissed on impact, chemically acidic. Kara's skin stung, but she didn't flinch. Her uniform sizzled. Still, she moved forward, head low, rifle ready. Hour 2. A drone attacked from behind. She ducked beneath its plasma burst and crushed its optics with a jagged rock. The thing thrashed before exploding. Shrapnel tore a gash in her leg. She wrapped it in silence. Hour 5. Gravity fluctuated. One moment she weighed nothing. The next, she collapsed under triple weight. She crawled uphill through mud that reeked of rot and metal. When she reached the top, an automated turret spun toward her. She disarmed it with a flick of a combat blade to its motor cable. The mud had buried her knee-deep. Her blood had soaked through her gloves. Hour 11. She hadn't eaten, hadn't slept. Her lips cracked from dehydration. The system pumped in audio illusions, screams from her old unit, voices whispering her name, begging her to stop. She spit blood and kept walking. From the observation room, Admiral Korvac watched silently. "She's losing blood," a Vayari technician said. "And still moving," Korvac replied. "No stimulant injections. No aid. Pure will." Hour 14. The temperature dropped. Below freezing. Her fingers turned stiff, her breath fogged the air. She broke apart the remains of a drone and used its power core for heat. She huddled against the flickering warmth for precisely 7 minutes, then marched on. No one told her to move. But the drill wasn't just about surviving. It was about pushing forward. Hour 20. She climbed a cliff made of obsidian-like spikes. Her palms left behind wet smears. Near the top, a sudden quake knocked her loose. She hit the ground, hard, laid there for 2 minutes, then got up again. Hour 24. She reached a false shelter, a bunker filled with nerve gas. She recognized the trap too late. By the time she crawled back out, her vision swam and her ears bled. Still, she smiled. "That all you've got?" she whispered to no one. Inside the observation chamber, silence ruled. Dozens of species stared at the feed. A Scarab soldier muttered, "Why doesn't she yield?" Korvac didn't answer. He just stared at the screen, watching the human limp across the hellscape, one hand dragging a metal spike she'd fashioned into a weapon. "She's not here to survive," he said at last. "She's here to win." And somewhere on Varg 9, bleeding and gasping, Karavas grinned through cracked teeth. Only 48 hours to go. Hour 48, when machines break and humans keep going. The systems were starting to glitch. Karavas shouldn't have made it this far. At hour 48, the Death Drill's AI core, an adaptive war simulator matrix, began recycling environmental hazards. Its algorithms had no parameters for a participant who refused to fail. There were no breakpoints, no rest cycles. Just endless war. Yet she was still moving. Her gait was uneven, one eye swollen shut, her left wrist wrapped with scavenged wire from a down drone. She leaned on a jagged length of metal rebar like a crutch and a club. Her skin was ash-streaked, armor in tatters, but her stare remained cold and locked forward. She wasn't surviving the drill. She was outlasting it. In the observation chamber, Admiral Korvac watched the feed with narrowed eyes. Scientists and officers surrounded him, silent and stunned. "Her cortisol levels are off the scale," muttered Atari medic. "This amount of stress should have induced cardiac arrest by hour 30. She entered a hypometabolic state during the last 3-hour interval," another added. "She's regulating her stress responses consciously." Korvac's mandibles clicked slowly. "She's not just enduring. She's controlling it." Hour 36. The simulation deployed mind echoes, synthetic memories rendered in brutal realism. Kara's family, her old unit, voices from Earth calling her home, pleading for her to stop. She stared through them. "Cute," she muttered hoarse. Then she walked straight through the illusion, jaw clenched so hard her teeth bled. Hour 42. The terrain shifted to zero gravity. Spinning debris, jagged rocks, and collapsing structures forced her to navigate a chaotic void. She used the magnetic clamps from destroyed drones to leap across chasms. Mid-flight, a drone clipped her leg. She didn't scream. She laughed. "You got to hit harder than that." Hour 45. She began talking to herself, singing even a scratchy earth ballad, off-key and tired. From the observation deck, one of the Scarab leaned in. "She's going mad." Korvac shook his head. "No, she's staying awake." Hour 47. The environment threw everything at her: electrical storms, heat waves, sonic disruptions. Kara staggered forward, using wreckage as a shield. When her rebar club broke, she replaced it with a drone wing. Improvised, adapted, advanced. She hadn't eaten in 2 days, hadn't slept. Her muscles trembled, but she moved like pain had become irrelevant. By hour 48, Kara reached a dry crater filled with scorched bones, remnants of past drill failures. She stood at the center, chest heaving. She dropped to one knee, not in surrender, in control. She removed her boot and poured out blood, then stood again. "System," she rasped. "Is that all you've got?" The environment didn't answer. But in the control room, An alert chimed. Alert. Drill environmental core at stress limit. Escalation options exhausted. Korvac stared at the screen in silence. She's breaking the simulation, he whispered. Kara Voss stood alone, swaying slightly, her silhouette framed by the burning sky. She had 24 hours left, and she hadn't even considered stopping. The final hour, she signed up again. Hour 70. Kara Voss moved like a specter. Her limbs ached beyond pain, past exhaustion, into something elemental, raw will fuse to flesh. Her breath rattled like broken gears. Her armor was a skeleton of charred plates, but her eyes, one bloodied shut, the other burning with stubborn clarity, still scanned for threats. The drill's environment had collapsed into chaos. The terrain cracked underfoot. Firestorms raged across the simulated plains. Automated hunter drones had begun malfunctioning, attacking everything indiscriminately, even each other. Gravity fluctuated wildly. The system was eating itself alive. Because Kara hadn't broken, the death drill had. In the control room, silence reigned. No one spoke, not even Admiral Korvac. He watched her stagger across the final gauntlet, the suicide corridor. A kilometer of shifting terrain, cloaked drones, hidden mines, and bone-breaking physics simulations. It was the drill's endgame, designed to kill anything foolish enough to reach the last hour. And Kara Voss was walking through it like it had personally insulted her. She has no medstims left, a technician whispered. No weapons, no food, and no quit, Korvac replied, voice flat with awe. This wasn't a test of survival. It was a test of surrender, and she never gave it. Hour 71. An explosion launched her into a wall of scorched metal. She slid down, coughing blood. Her knee gave out. For 2 full minutes, she didn't move. In the observation chamber, some finally exhaled. She's done. Then Kara pushed herself up, one movement at a time, until she stood again. I wasn't done, she growled. She limped the final stretch. Hour 72. The sky blinked off. The simulation shut down with a final, groaning hum. The fires faded. The ground stilled. Overhead, a dull chime rang across the battlefield. The doors of the death drill opened for the first time in galactic history. Kara stood at the edge, blinking at the sudden peace. Then she stepped through. The chamber erupted in chaos. Dozens of officers surged toward the viewing glass. Data analysts scrambled to cross-check vitals. The AI tried to calculate the statistical anomaly and promptly crashed. Kara Voss had done the impossible. She hadn't just survived. She completed the 72-hour death drill. Later, after medics tried and failed to sedate her, and after her wounds were cleaned but not treated with full Regan, because she refused the painkillers, Kara sat alone before the Coalition Council. 100 species. 1,000 centuries of military doctrine. Kara stared them all down. Why? The counselor finally asked. Why would you volunteer for something that kills everyone? Kara leaned forward. Her voice was raw, but her words were steady. Because no one else would. Because we don't back down. Not from pain. Not from fear. Not from impossible odds. You think endurance is strength? No. Endurance is choice. And humans? We choose to keep going. And if you were asked to do it again? Kara stood, straightened her battered spine, and looked the galaxy in the eye. Already signed up. Twice.